Good morning. My name is Troy Perry. I'm the Assistant City Manager for the City of Lake Worth Beach. On behalf of our Mayor and City Commission and the City Manager, Jamie Brown, I'd like to welcome everyone here to this workshop. And we appreciate those citizens who are taking the time out to come, and all the outside organizations that are taking their opportunity to come out and participate in this event. One of the things we hope to focus on is building our relationship with the community. We have an opportunity to, meet the people who make some of the decisions and ask your questions, get some information, and hopefully when you leave here, you have some information about how we function in the city of Lake Worth Beach. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our Code Enforcement Division. They did an outstanding job putting this together with the support of the director. And so we hope by the end of this presentation, all your questions will be answered. I just want to remind you, we do have a second session in October 16th, 2025, so feel free to attend that one as well. And anything that you don't get out of this particular session, please let us know, and we'll try to make it better next time and try to answer all your questions. And with that, I'll turn it over to the Code Enforcement Director.
Good morning. My name is Yolanda Bryant, Code Enforcement, Code Compliance Assistant Director. Before I get started, I want to bring the Director over Department of Community Sustainability up to the front so that he can introduce himself as well, because he's over me.
Thanks, Yolanda. William Waters, Community Sustainability Director. I do want to thank everybody who came and is attending our event. I really appreciate all the efforts that Yolanda has put in. She's been working on this for about 3 months. So hopefully everybody will learn a lot from each other. Hopefully if you don't have the opportunity to ask questions today, please do email us. We'll provide that information. It is running live. We're recording it. It'll be on the website. We anticipate going over a lot of things that will help tenants and landlords, as well as property owners, understand better what the expectations are for Lake Worth Beach, and help you also navigate the very complex and often confusing requirements that you have to go through in our department in order to get a building permit or comply with code or get a business license or talk with planning and zoning historic preservation. So we're looking forward to covering a lot of ground in a very short amount of time. So we'll try to be as quick and thorough and concise as possible. And from that, we're going to turn it over. And what's our first area that we're going to cover? Code compliance. So Yolanda's going to come back, and her team is in the audience, and so they're going to learn a lot as well. So thank you again for coming.
Thank you, William. Thank you, Mr. Perry. Code compliance, the most favorite division in the city. And that's the goal. That's our goal for code compliance. We want people to appreciate what we do for the city and to not fear code compliance, but to work with code compliance towards our ultimate goal, which is voluntary compliance, according to Florida Statute 162. That's what we're governed by, and our muni codes, our city municipal codes as well. The purpose of the Code Compliance Division is to educate, which is why we're here today, is to educate the community how to move around within the Code Compliance Division. We're intertwined with several different divisions, which is historic preservation, planning and zoning, business license, building. So all of us are under one umbrella. So we communicate effectively together, and we try to work together to bring the customer to complete voluntary compliance. So that's our purpose. Our functions are to provide assistance to customers, to answer questions within a timely manner, which is usually 24 to 48 hours. We have an administrative staff who's phenomenal, and they help the customers out. They answer our phone calls. They bring the questions down from the city website, and they respond to questions from the city website. They answer the phone calls. We provide remedial services for those who do not comply violations per ordinance. And our remedial services include Abandoned and inoperable vehicles, which we work with PBSO to red tag those vehicles and have those removed. We perform lot clearings. We have a contractor who perform our lot clearings, and we have a contractor who perform our board and secure and our demolitions. We demolish properties, derelict properties as well. We have a vacant property registration that we brought in-house just recently. We provide services for that. So we have quite a few functions that the Code Compliance Division does. But one thing I want the community to understand is that we're here to work with you. We can't help you if you do not communicate. So we want you to communicate with us. Let us know what you need, and we'll be here to assist you in whatever capacity we can assist you. Other functions are nuisance properties. We have a lot of nuisance properties. We try to abate those nuisances. And we have a task force where we are in conjunction with PBSO, Palm Beach Fire Rescue, the city attorney, and the code staff. So we all work together to bring properties into voluntary compliance. Our common code violations are abandoned vehicles. We see those on the public right-of-ways and on private property. We want the community to know that code compliance deals mostly with private property violations, and other divisions and entities deal with the public right-of-way. We have other common code violations are bulk garbage, trash, business license. We'll have someone come up and speak more about business license. Dumpster requirement. We have someone from Public Works coming up to speak about dumpster requirement. Illegal dumping, which is a big one. Landscape maintenance, outdoor storage, parking on grass, shutters on windows and boards on windows, unlicensed and inoperable vehicles, and shopping carts, uncontained shopping carts. We have several links on the website, on the city website, where you can click to find out who do I contact for what, and it'll direct you. The link will direct you to the proper entity or division or department that you need to contact in order to get a violation resolved. Now I'm going to turn it over to planning and zoning. So I'm going to put it back in the hand of William Waters.
Thanks, Yolanda. Our planning and zoning staff is actually attending a statewide conference to learn more about how to do the best practices in the state of Florida. So I'm stepping in for them because I have been in charge of planning and zoning and preservation in the past. The Planning and Preservation Division has two main functions. One is dealing with the general planning and zoning issues of our city. We have a zoning map that delineates what types of buildings you can put on what type of property at what size with setbacks and a number of other things. Much of the requirements for the land development regulations, which many people refer to as zoning code, are found online. The planning staff also reviews zoning compliance for business licenses, which will be talked about a little bit later. They meet with people about their property, what they can and can't do with it, how do they fix their property up, also answering questions about what uses are allowed. And uses are allowed at 3 different levels in the city of Lake Worth Beach. One is what's called permitted by right, and that's usually a smaller, less intensive use that doesn't generate a lot of traffic or noise or is generally similar to the uses that are already in that area. The uses are delineated mostly either as residential or commercial, office, personal services, industrial, or artisanal. And so the residential ones are what covers most of the city. About a third of the city is single-family residential, which is a single-family house with single family living in that property. Now, Lake Worth Beach, being older, is full of nonconformities. Nonconformities mean buildings that have been maintained and uses that have been maintained over time that may have been allowed in some previous era under a different code, but now with our current codes that we have in place, those uses aren't technically allowed, and those nonconformities can't be expanded. It does make planning and zoning a challenge in Lake Worth Beach because there are lots of uses that have been here a very long time that are considered nonconforming, and just because your neighbor is doing it now does not mean that you can do it too. So the best avenue is to check with staff, send us an email, go online, give us a phone call. They do their best to return phone calls and emails within 48 hours, but if you don't hear back from them, please call back again and then call for the general line. And there is a tab for the Planning and Zoning Division. There's also one for the Historic Preservation Division. Those two offices work within the same division. There are 6 local historic districts within the city. There are several thousand properties that are considered contributing. The only commercial historic district is downtown, which most people are familiar with, but there are 5 residential districts. Those districts are divided up into 2 types of buildings, ones that are contributing, which means they're historic, 50 years or older for the most part, and still maintain some level of integrity and appearance as they did when they were built. The other buildings are non-contributing, and they are treated a little bit differently. There are more stringent standards for contributing properties and less stringent ones for non-contributing properties. Most changes in historic districts can be approved by staff under what's called a certificate of appropriateness. Major additions, new construction, demolitions, significant changes of use do have to go to our Historic Resource Preservation Board. When you get to uses that are above a smaller size, we either have an administrative use permit required or a conditional use permit required. The administrative use permits can be approved by staff. Things that I've looked at are excessive noise, traffic generation, changes of use and occupancy. It's a larger size. It's a use that may be a little atypical for where it's being located, but it is allowed. And the next step up is conditional land use, which goes before either the Planning and Zoning Board if it's not in a historic district, or it goes to the Historic Resource Board if it is in a historic district. Conditional land uses do come with conditions, and normally they are related to the size of what's being proposed, the traffic generation, what noise might be generated, hours of operation, parking requirements, and items along those lines. Normally, if you have a conditional use permit request, or you're going to need one, it takes about 60 days to get you before a advisory board. There are other functions within the Planning and Zoning and Preservation Office, such as the Site Plan Review Team. We do have a concierge service, which if you are planning to develop your property or want to make significant changes to it, we can convene that group or send your preliminary information to that group, and that team entails people from all across the city. Public Works, Palm Beach Sheriff's Office, the Palm Beach Fire Rescue, Lake Worth Drainage District, the Building Division, the Planning and Zoning folks, and others within the city that help you learn what can and can't happen to your property, and to try to provide you some guidance on how best to get your use approved. We might have time if at the end, we might go live and kind of show you through the website, because there's lots of information there. All of our applications for planning and preservation are online. There's a universal development application that covers almost every kind of request you'd have, and there's a separate checklist and addendum information that is listed there that you have to submit, and you can do it online. You can drop it off at our office, but dropping it, emailing it through our portal on the website is most efficacious in getting it reviewed quickly and getting a response back from staff. The certificates of appropriateness application functions the same way. We are able to handle concurrent applications such as applying for a zoning approval or a certificate of appropriateness at the same time you're requesting a building permit. And so do make use of our expedited review process in terms of submitting applications at the same time if you feel comfortable. There's also on the website a list of new projects that are coming, and we do expect some new tenants. I guess the biggest one will probably be the Gulfstream Hotel, which is scheduled to open at the first of the year. And that was a big historic preservation project for us that many of us in the room were collaborating on for several years. I anticipate there'll be questions coming up later. Please email them. I don't see if there is a quick question in the public here. I'll try to answer that in regards to planning and zoning. Otherwise, we'll move on into our next section. Does anyone have a question? Great. I'll anticipate lots of emails when I get back to the office. Thanks.
Now we're going to bring to the forefront Carmel, who works with Healthier Lake Worth Beach, and she is a partner with the city and with code compliance.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Carmel Chapman, and I am the project director for Healthier Lakewood Beach. I'm sure some of you in the room have not heard of Healthier Lakewood Beach, but all the code officers are here, and I thank them for the great job that they've been doing with Healthier Lakewood Beach, the residents as as partners working together to improve curb appeal and the neighborhoods of Healthier and of Lakewood Beach. So Healthier Lakewood Beach is a community driven residents-led initiative. We are 6 of the Healthier Together communities across Palm Beach County, and we are funded by Palm Health Foundation. So about 8 or 9 years ago, the residents of Lakewood Beach came together to discuss on issues that are affecting them in their communities. And they had to decide on 3 health issues: behavioral health, diabetes, and family caregiving. Well, based on what was going on then, 8 years or 9 years ago in Lakewood Beach, of course, the residents of Lakewood Beach decided to focus on behavioral health. And how did they actually define their behavioral health is their community environment, meaning they wanted a cleaner, a greener, and a safer Lakewood Beach, because back then crime was very high in Lakewood Beach, and a lot of the public alleyways and trash was an issue. We had drug, homelessness issues, and all these things. So they came together. They started by cleaning their streets. They doing one neighborhood at a time. Every month, a neighborhood, because we have a lot of neighborhoods in Lakewood Beach. So every month, a neighborhood was taking action, cleaning their streets, where everybody come together, residents help each other, and to make their streets cleaner. So as we kept working on that, we started building relationship with the city leaders. We started building relationship with Code Compliance Division, and also our local Sheriff's Office. Of course, we're going to do that because crime is an issue in our community, and the residents wanted to take their community back. So we all know that when a community appears to be cleaner and it's greener, it's less likely that it will attract undesirable people to come into these communities, to these neighborhoods. So as we continue to do that, we continue to improve our neighborhood. So the residents decided, well, what's next? Because we have an organization that is committed to funding us, giving us $200,000 every year for 10 years. So how do we keep this going? How do we sustain this? So we started to build a stronger relationship with Code. And the steering committees, they got together and decided, well, what if we could create some type of education to talk to people, to get more people engaged to keeping Lakewood beautiful? Because we all know that a city's asset is its residents. So they have to take ownership of their community. So that's how we started talking to Code, and we started building the partnership, and we came up with a working process to where Code will, when they do their walkthrough, or if they receive a call about a property that is not in compliance, so what they will do is that they will give a referral. They will send a referral. They will knock and find out why this residence is not taking care of the curb appeal, or, what can they do to support it, to support that residence. But it is also a way to practice code compassion, but also equitable code compliance. So once they send that referral to us, and we will contact the owner, the homeowner, and we'll make an appointment and we'll go do an assessment. Now, not everybody is qualified for that. But, once we go do the assessment, if the resident, the homeowner, is a senior and is on limited income and is facing a health issues, or it could be a parent or a single parent with low income with children, or they don't have, the means to do the work. Because oftentimes the work is tremendous. We're talking about fascia borders, rotten fascia borders, overgrown landscape. The windows are not to par. the house need painted, pressure clean, and all these things. So when we're talking about someone who's facing health issues and also, is 75 or 85, this person is not going to be able to do the work. That here comes the compassion, right? So they will refer these homes to us, and we will go and as a team, and we talk to the owners and ask, what can we do to help? And we explain to them what it is about. And then we do have partners. We have handyman partners. We have roofers. We have, other companies who want to work to help the community, especially in these days. People are having some hard time, and we all get together. We do the job. And then, code comes, the officer comes, and they do their inspection, and the person, complied. But also what we're trying to do is to get the residents who are already struggling, not to spend the money that they don't have. Because if they don't comply, although code has been patient with them, in helping them to comply, but if they don't, then they got to go to magistrate where they got to pay a fee, which they don't have. But they still have to take care of the problem. But if we could get them to avoid doing that, by helping them to, to do the work, then, it's less stress on them, because we are focused on behavioral health. And we know that when we are stressed, stress cause a lot of chronic conditions. So this is why, Healthier Lakewood Beach, this is who we are. This is what we are. It's about our community environment. It's about residents coming together, to improve in their neighborhoods and making changes that they want to see. Not changes that other people want to see for them, but they want to see in, improving their neighborhood. And we are so thankful to all the code officers. They have been, so compassionate to doing the work and building the relationship. And I know that we're not getting everybody, who needs it, and people still have some kind of opinions about code, but the people that, they've referred to us, the people that we have helped together, they are very thankful. They are very grateful. Their opinions have totally changed. And it's not that they don't want to do the work. It's not that they are not, it's that they are not able, and for these officers to see that and working with us and changing the dates, like compliance date, because, the property is not ready to be inspected. And just the partnership is tremendous. It's a great thing. And we are so privileged to, be working with you. And thank you for listening. And thank you for understanding, what the community, the residents of Lakewood Beach are going through. And if you do have any questions, I'm here after that. And I will share numbers. It's not just code who refer residents to us. It's neighbors referring neighbors, to make sure that, Lakewood Beach keep its beauty.
Thank you, Carmel. Now we had to make some changes with the agenda. So now we're going to call Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office for their presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I am Investigator Ports with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Threat Assessment Unit. Basically, the Threat Assessment Unit works hand in hand with our local municipalities, unincorporated areas. And when I say threat assessment, it's not behavioral services side, it's infrastructure. which is why we're here today. So we kind of are the subject matter experts in providing suggestions on how you can better your homes, better your buildings, your houses of worship. It's about layers, what you can do to help prevent a crime from happening or become a victim. So today we're going to talk a little bit about CPTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design. And this is stuff that everyday citizens can kind of put together and make some modifications and changes, and then it works its way up to more of the multifamily complexes, and we're going to have a little bit of discussion on what they can do to help minimize crime from happening in their communities. So I apologize. I got 2 clickers today, one for you guys and one so we can keep our notes. Alrighty, so CPTED is a proactive crime prevention strategy that utilized by law enforcement agencies, planners, architects, security professionals, and everyday citizens like yourself. CPTED it's common sense. It operates on the belief that proper design and effective use of built environment can lead to a reduction in fear and incidents of crime and improvement of the quality of life for your employees and your tenants. The goal of CPTED is to reduce opportunities for crime. Like I had mentioned before, layers help reduce crime. Not one thing is going to reduce a crime, but when you add in the different layers, you have a less likelihood of becoming a victim or your property becoming a victim. The reduction in opportunities that may inherit in the design of the external or internal areas of your property, like the young lady said before me, Lake Worth Beach is an older community, so they might not necessarily have the latest building plans and structures that are common practice today. So that's where we kind of come into play and make those suggestions on how you can help secure your properties. All right, so a little bit of background. Why CPTED matters for landlords. It improves safety and reduces liability. It increases resident satisfaction and occupancy. It really does have to do with quality of life issues and making it a better quality environment for yourself and your tenants to be able to live. It enhances the property values, and it reduces the risks of lawsuits and insurance claims. And you're probably wondering, well, how can CPTED help reduce lawsuits and insurance claims? And we have a slide for that. All righty. So earlier this year on January 1st, Florida government created what is called the Florida Apartment CPTED Assessments. It's a legal requirement under Florida state statute. And basically it says that CPTED assessments for all multi-property families, and this is going to be with 5 units or more, has to have a CPTED conducted by a state-certified crime prevention through environmental design practitioner or law enforcement agency by January 1st. So in Palm Beach County, we have probably over 1,000 complexes. So this is not something that is feasible for us to be able to do. There are outside venues that do handle this. They do have certified crime prevention practitioners that work with these companies to help have these properties come into compliance. The assessment identifies vulnerabilities within the property and recommends improvements to security features like lighting, cameras, door locks, window hardware, and fencing to reduce crime and deter third-party liability. A subsequent action plan must be developed, and the assessment needs to be redone every 3 years. All right, so key areas that are covered in the assessment. Lighting. That ensures proper illumination for parking lots, walkways, common areas, the dusk till dawn. Lighting is a strong feature. If you leave it dark out there, the likelihood of somebody being seen that wants to commit a crime, you amplify that. So lighting can be very minimal cost to having to get with FP&L to make those changes if they own the lighting structure. Surveillance. It evaluates the placement and effectiveness of security cameras. That also works hand in hand with lighting. If you don't have the proper lighting, you can change the way that person looks on camera. So you might think that the person is wearing a red shirt, but on camera it looks like it's more of a orange-yellow, and that kind of distorts somebody that we're going to be looking for. Access control, and that's access security for entrances. For those of you that came into City Hall today, and for those of you that are watching online, City Hall has wonderful access control. You have to buzz to be able to come in. It's not free entering. So it's little things like that that take steps in reducing somebody that maybe has some ill intent from coming into the building. Security hardware, and that checks functional deadbolts. Just a little side note. Why does the deadbolt have to be checked? Very simple. You have the deadbolt, then you have the opening in the doorway that the bolt goes. However, if that opening is not long enough, the bolt is not properly working. So it's little things like that that can go a long way in securing your property. It has to do with fences, common areas, gates, windows, sliding glass doors, and then you have what's called territorial reinforcement. You're putting things in place, telling somebody where they want to go. Sidewalks, shrubbery. You're building that structure that leads them to the desired place. If there's a fence in line, then that's telling somebody, hey, I'm not supposed to be going this direction. So that's your territorial reinforcement. There's a lot more in there that you can do to your properties, but again, we have a short amount of time here. And maintenance that addresses issues like broken windows or graffiti that may attract criminal activity. Crime prevention and community policing is all based on what's called the broken windows theory. And it's nice that you fix the window. What are you going to do to prevent that crime from happening again? All right. Benefits of the SEPTED assessment. Legal compliance. It helps meet the requirements of the Florida statute. And this one's really important for our landlords out there. It establishes a presumption against liability for third-party crimes on the property. Improves safety, enhances the security for residents and visitors, reduces your insurance premium. I know we all have ears popping up right now on how to save money, and this is one of them. It can lead to lower insurance costs for the property owner. So there are many benefits of going through this process. And then ultimately our main goal is the deterrence of crime, and it creates a safer environment and reduces the opportunities for criminals that are out there. All right, so since we have a crowd here and people watching online, it really wasn't going to be beneficial to do handouts. So this is your paparazzi moment. If you don't want me to ruin the picture, I will get out of the way. But this is the website that you guys can go to for more guidance from the Florida State Attorney's Office on how this law works and applies. And even if you're not a landlord, it's good because it might give you some suggestions in there on what you can do to better your quality of life and secure your home. And with that said, I'm going to be bringing up Investigator Chanel, and she is going to talk to you a little bit more about the concepts within SEPTED. So this is ours, this is theirs.
Gotcha.
You got it, or you need me to be your Vanna White?
I think I'm good.
You're good? Okay.
I think I got it. Thank you, Scott.
All right, let's also check to make sure you're not going to, well, the computer died.
We'll wing it if the computer dies. How about that? All right. So this is going to sound a little repetitive to follow up to what Scott was saying. I'm just going to go over the key SEPTED principles. Now, ultimately, there's 4 principles that fall within SEPTED. We have natural surveillance, and this is just in a nutshell what each one is. Make it easy for people to observe their surroundings. Territorial reinforcement. Like Scott mentioned, we want to show that a space is owned and maintained. Natural access control, guide people where they should go, and discourage access to restricted areas. And then maintenance, common sense stuff. Keep spaces clean, working, and inviting. A well-kept property signals to the community and to others who may want to do criminal activity that this area is cared for by the people who live there. Natural surveillance, simple. See and be seen is the goal of natural surveillance. And there's 3 layers to natural surveillance. We have natural, which is windows, placing seatings in areas where you want people to have eyes on the street, in common areas, near parking areas, so there's more eyes on what's going on in the community. Windows, and then see-through fencing is a great option as well. Not only does that give the ability of the homeowner to see what's going on out in the street in front of them, but it also allows vice versa. If there's suspicious activity going on in that property, it gives the public the opportunity to have a good, clear line of sight as well. Mechanical, that's the hardware aspect of it. Motion-activated lighting, security cameras, and smart doorbells. And then we have organized. When you think organized, think of people. So that's your neighborhood watch groups, property managers, security guards doing their routine patrols, and then community events. That's huge, like you mentioned earlier, with getting the community engaged. Oops. Too quick, yeah. Is it going to play on its own? I don't know if there's, yeah, if you want to hit the, it should have been on autoplay. I apologize.
Homeowner alert. Police want you to hear. We've all heard about burglars casing their targets before breaking in.
Well, it turns out sometimes the way your home looks, from design to paint color, can actually attract crooks. Tina's here now to explain it. Tonight's Home Safe Home Report. Calvin Laurie, a Coral Springs police officer who is state certified in crime prevention, says the design of your home or community can actually be enticing to burglars. But he also says there are ways to make it safer. Okay, let's go. We rode along with Coral Springs officer Glenn Roberts, an expert on home crime prevention. So this is a newer community.
Fairly new.
And this community at Westview Drive and Coral Springs Drive has never had a burglary. Really?
No, but all the neighborhoods around it have.
The reason in part, he says, the design.
You immediately have porches in every direction, you have windows in every direction, and they're generally pointing down at the street.
Because if you have a porch in the front, theoretically, a neighbor could be here, they could see what's going on and give the police a call.
Correct, and the more active the community, the better.
Architecture you can't change, but there are things you can do to turn off criminals. Tip number 1, trim your hedges. Thick foliage seems like it's ideal for privacy.
The hedges should be about 3 feet high.
But Robert says high hedges give crooks time and a place away from view to steal. So when a home has a high hedge like this, neighbors really can't see what's going on behind. You can't see anything at all unless I put my hands way above my head.
The best hedge height is 2 feet. For a hedge, 3 feet should be your maximum.
Tip number 2, open some of your blinds.
But what do you notice about those windows? All the blinds are closed.
During the day, you likely close them to keep peering eyes away, but Robert says that makes criminals think no one is watching them. And tip number 3, consider repainting your front door a bright color like red. It calls attention to itself.
If a criminal's standing there knocking or trying to pry that door at this time, somebody driving by, like one of your neighbors, is going to see it.
That was welcome news for the woman whose parents live here.
Well, that's good to know, because I was just going to remind them to paint it.
So people can really play a big role in preventing crime from happening to them.
Absolutely.
Don't close your blinds. That one gets our attention.
Isn't that interesting? It seems to go against everything that we've been told, but they say, by the time a criminal actually gets to your house and gets to your window, they're breaking in anyway. They're not going to look in and look for your stuff. So the idea of opening some of your blinds or some of your curtains actually gives the appearance that maybe your home or maybe your neighbor's home, so they could be looking out, calling police. I mean, obviously use common sense. If you're changing, if you're at home, close your blinds. But yeah, open blinds and shutters and curtains kind of give the appearance that somebody might be watching.
All right. Thank
And
you
a big
for that.
red door.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great tip.
Like you painted your doors.
Yeah. Homeowner alert. Police want you to.
All right, and that's just in a nutshell what natural surveillance is. That was a great video to really touch on those points. Next, we'll go over territorial reinforcement. Again, to touch bases on what Scott talked about. So within territorial reinforcement, we have those 4 subsections: landscaping and boundaries. And again, some of this might sound repetitive, but it all does intertwine together into these key principles. Use hedges, fences, flower beds, and pathways to define property lines. Signage and personal touches, house numbers, mailboxes, welcome mats, decorative items. It just shows that someone lives there and is taking care of the property. Lighting and visibility, porch lights, motion sensors, lit pathways to reinforce control, and then ownership of that space. And then upkeep, again, well-maintained lawn, manicured area shows that someone is actively caring for the property. And then why does this work? Why does this apply to you guys? Well, it sets clear boundaries and signs of ownership, and it sends a message that people are present, engaged, and it discourages that criminal behavior. Natural access control. So we have defined entrances. Again, we want to guide people to where they should go. Use walkways, archways, gates to signal the entry point of a home. The fencing and hedges, decorative fencing, hedges, low walls, establish boundaries without creating hiding places. That's a big one. Lighting and pathways, well-lit driveways, sidewalks, and front entrances guide visitors naturally to where they should go, to the correct door. And then gates and locks. Always make sure side gates, garage doors, backyard entrances, they should all be secured, because that signals to that person, okay, I'm not supposed to be in this area. And then signage, clearly post house numbers and private property or no trespassing signs. We'll touch on that briefly at the end. And then why does this work? When entry points are obvious and boundaries are clear, it's harder to sneak in without drawing attention. People instinctively notice when someone's going a direction where they're not supposed to go, especially in a residential property. If you have a neighbor sees an unknown person going towards the rear of your property and there's a locked gate, that signals to that person, hey, they probably are not supposed to be there. They do not look familiar. Briefly, like Scott mentioned with those deadbolts, make sure they are at least 1 inch into the door frame. Remember, a locked door does not work unless you lock it. I cannot harp on that enough. A lot of our burglaries, I would say over half of our burglaries, occurred to unlocked vehicles and residents. The ultimate goal in SEPTED is to reduce the opportunity. Leaving a door unlocked, you are literally opening the doors of criminal activity. Just do that double check, especially before going to bed at night. Strike plates, briefly. So, like Scott had mentioned, that gap between the door and the frame, a way to guard that is with a simple strike plate. It helps protect the door from that prying tool getting in between the door frame and the door itself. For time purposes, I will skip that. It's just a funny little video talking about an unlocked door, but we will skip that for now. Key control, this is big for our landlords. It goes without saying, but sometimes some keys do go unnoticed. Please make sure that we relock all the locks when a new tenant moves in. I know that's common sense and that's common practice, but sometimes it may be forgotten about. So just make sure you are really taking care of that. As for tenants, make sure you are giving the keys to a person that you actually trust. Not some friend or someone, a coworker, someone that you actually trust. Do not give keys to maintenance or delivery people. And if you must leave a key behind, leave it with a trusted neighbor. All the bad guys know the good hiding spots for keys. They're going to check everywhere. In their mind, they're going to think, okay, if I lived here, where would I hide a key? They're going to go to it more chances than not, they're going to find that key. And again, I know this sounds silly, but never leave your key fob in your car. Some people do it out of convenience, and a lot of people do it more than you would think. And that's how a lot of our stolen vehicles are obtained, especially in our higher end communities and gated communities. They have this false sense of security. So they'll leave their key fob in their car as a convenience to themselves, not knowing it's a convenience to somebody who wants to steal your car. Again, it sounds silly, but these things do happen. And maintenance, of course, like I said, this is common sense stuff, but exterior care, keeping those lawns maintained, repair quickly. This ties into that broken windows theory that Scott had touched on. Fix broken windows, fixed unrepaired lighting right away so it doesn't appear neglected. Graffiti and vandalism. If you see even a small amount of graffiti on a property, call us to come take a report, because you never know if it's connected to other vandalism cases in the area, and then cover it up immediately, repair it immediately. Because that small tag of graffiti can signal to another tagger in the area who does graffiti, okay, this is acceptable, they don't care, I'm going to put my tag on there now too. So just make sure that we're covering this stuff up immediately. General cleanliness, remove trash, store tools, ladders securely, and keep your yards free of clutter. Neglect symbolizes that a property looks unoccupied and poorly monitored. Again, broken windows, we just talked about that. Just fix anything that's out of place, that looks neglected. And then ultimately, why does this matter for our community? Safer homes. Thoughtful design discourages crimes before they happen. Again, I cannot stress enough, SEPTED is to reduce the opportunity of crime. That's the ultimate goal here. Stronger communities. Well-kept, visible, and cared for properties build trust among neighbors. Peace of mind. Small changes like lighting, landscape, and upkeep make a big difference. And then shared responsibility. Everybody in the community. Sorry, I got confused with my little clickers here. Too many. Sorry about that. Shared responsibility. Everyone plays a role in creating safe, welcoming neighborhoods. Okay, now I'm on track. Business partnership program. Please feel free to take a picture of this. This does not pertain to single-family residents. It pertains more to apartment complexes, condominiums, HOAs. What else am I missing? Duplex, triplex, yep. Those qualify. Home run businesses. So if somebody's operating like a nail salon, a hair salon out of their own home, it does not qualify because it's a residence. Therefore, it does not qualify. Airbnbs do not qualify. That's a big one that people ask us about. So you cannot join if it's an Airbnb. And then obviously our businesses are free to join as well. It's a great option for our property owners and our property managers. And then obviously you could visit our website, pbso.org/BPP to apply. And if you have any questions about the application process, please do not hesitate to send us an email first. If you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to help you. And then obviously we have our PBSO Connect Protect app. It's available on Android and iPhone. This is not a replacement for 911. I cannot harp on that enough. This is for after the facts, or if you have something suspicious going on in your community that you want to have PBSO aware of. It's a great feature to keep in contact with our community as well. But again, if there is an emergency, please call 911. If there's a crime in progress, please call 911. Do not just text this app, okay? And that's all I have for you guys. Do you have any questions for me or for Scott? No? Okay. Well, thank you for having us. It was a pleasure. Thank you. This one's yours. I don't want to steal theirs. That one's there? Okay. Got it.
Okay, now we're going back to Department of Community Sustainability, and we're going to have the Business License Division come forward. Alicia Wilson.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Alicia Wilson. I am the Budget Office Manager in DCS, and I'm also over the Business License Division. And I'm going to talk briefly about how to properly apply for a business license as a landlord. We have three parts to our business license. We have the actual BTR, which is the business tax receipt. We also have the use and occupancy certification registration. And then the final part is the use and occupancy inspection, which is handled by code compliance. So when you apply, things that we look for to not have it rejected immediately at intake, we need to have the application signed, of course, and completed in its entirety. We do receive them oftentimes without this information. We also receive them not being signed, so that causes a delay at the onset for the application. We put licenses in the name as it appears on the property assessor's site. So if it is in the name of a corporation, we do require that you submit with your application your SunBiz or corporation documentation, which lists the registered agent of that corporation. That is the person who has to sign that application. That is the ID that we need to accompany the application. If it is in the name of a trust, we also need a copy of the trust. We have to tie the names together for proof of ownership. This will avoid dealing with code compliance because the names don't match, and that could cause further delays in the review process. We require the recorded deed or your property statement, tax statement, or something from Papa showing that you are, in fact, the registered owner of the property. The SunBiz document also must accompany the application if it is in a corporation as well. Once the application is deemed acceptable and all information is included on the application, we collect the fees, and at that point, it is turned over to our planning and zoning team to start the initial review. If everything is in order, the entire process between intake, planning and zoning, and the final inspection could take 10 business days. That's if everything is presented to us correctly in a timely manner. Our licenses are good every year through September 30th. Every year, the inspections are due every 3 years, and it's kind of confusing because our dates and usually codes dates aren't on the same calendar date, and we do work very closely to keep that date apprised, so you contact code compliance for your date for your inspection. And the renewal period starts every July 1 for the upcoming year. So we're right now in our renewal period for fiscal year 26, so you can renew at this point now for the following year. One thing that we do find that we have a lot of issues with is when you're no longer renting the property or you've sold the property. We have no way of knowing that. We ask that you notify us via email or call us and let us know that you're no longer renting. That way we're able to close that license and get it out of our system. A lot of times code compliance will find them. They will notify us as well. But it's always helpful because we're going to continue to send those renewal notices until we're notified that you're no longer renting. And that's really all I have for business licenses and how to apply correctly.
Does it require as a single family house for rent?
If you're renting any property, whether it's a single family home, a duplex, a triplex, if you are owning property in the city of Lake Worth Beach, you are required to have a business license. One thing I did not mention, if it's a single property that you have 5 or more units on it, you are required also to provide to us and register with the state of Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulations. 5 units or more, you're required to have that certification, and we require that to accompany your application when you apply for it. I think that's all I got. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Bobby Hicks, the Community Code Officer Supervisor. We want to touch on the use and occupancy inspections. We have 3 use and occupancy inspectors. We have one who handles a lot with vacant property registration. So if you're no longer renting the property and you're not going to rent the property, it needs to be registered as vacant. We have one officer who does that. We have also 2 other officers who split the city, one north end and one in the south end. On residential, we are not doing interior inspections. We are doing inspections from the exterior only. If you are in violation of a use and occupancy inspection, please call that inspection in immediately. This way the officer can come out, do the inspection, find the violations, and you have more time to correct them instead of waiting until the end. We find that happens a lot where they'll wait to the last minute, call it, and they're getting ready to go to the magistrate hearing, and there's more violations that are found. So please call in as soon as you get the violation to schedule. Commercial properties. We are doing the interior inspections, and the officers check anywhere from every unit from the exterior, inside, make sure there's proper fire extinguishers that are not expired, exit lighting for all the tenants, all the electrical panels, underneath the sinks, make sure there's no water leaks, bathrooms aren't leaking. We do have a list of items that we do check. So if you want one of those before we do the inspection, you can go around your property and check to make sure that they are corrected before the inspector comes out to ensure you can pass on the first time. They also we check the AC water heaters, electrical extermination, garbage bins. A big one, too, is house numbers, like PBSO stated. It's big because not just for code, but fire, police, they need to know the address. We also have a lot of tenants who don't have numbers on their doors. So officers may go to a property with an address, and it might not be in that door. It may be down at the end. So please have all your unit numbers labeled as well, front and back doors. Residential, the minimum is 4 inches. Commercial is 6 inches, front and back. Okay. Make sure permitting. Anytime you replace an air condition, water heater, those do need permits. I know buildings here, and I've heard them state several times, if it's an emergency, you can replace an AC or a water heater in emergency, but you have to come back into the office within 24, 48 hours to apply for that permit. Smoke detectors for your tenants. Please ensure that the smoke detectors are there and working. If you hear the batteries beeping, replace them. Same with the windows. We get a lot of windows on our use and occupancy inspections. They're either screwed shut, where the occupants can't get out, boarded up, or have the shutters on. All windows must be operable to be open and closed at any time. Please do not screw them shut. You're putting the tenant's life in jeopardy. So basically, we want the, like stated earlier, curb appeal. We want the entire property looking clean. Nice curb appeal for the community, safe. Same with vehicles, parking on the grass. So we have a lot. Just like I said before, if you get the violation, please call it in immediately so we can check to give you more time to correct the violations. Okay.
Thank you, Bobby. See a lot of PVSO familiar faces. Been working with Officer Mahoney for years. Now we're going to have, still at DCS, we're going to have Building Division, and we're going to bring up Charles. Sorry.
Just don't call me late for dinner. Good morning. The Building Division is under an umbrella. The Building Division, we have has a set of codes that are put out nationally, locally, and statewide. And the whole reason behind it is public safety. We've heard public safety from code. We've heard public safety from the Sheriff's Department and public safety from the Fire Department. And that is our main reason for being here. Okay, so that being said, I'll get to the building permit. Okay, the building permit, when you come into the building department, covers many factors. So a lot of times we get people that come in and they put in a building permit and they don't understand the process, or they get confused or frustrated why something is not being performed in a certain amount of time. As Bobby stated, emergency permits for electric, plumbing, air conditioning, you can go in and do your repairs. But it is the following business day that you have to apply for the permit. So if it's on a Friday and we're not open on a Saturday, you're not like, well, it's been 24 hours, it's Sunday, I'm in trouble. You're not. It's the following business day. Okay, and the reason we require those, again, it goes back to life safety. We want to make sure the person that installed this equipment, it's installed correctly so that your family is safe and your building is safe. All right? As for if you put a building permit in for, say, a new house, there's many divisions. You got public works, you got utility water, you got utility electric, you have zoning, you have landscaping, You have Palm Beach County Fire, and there's also Palm Beach County would like to see about some impact fees too. So there's a wide variety of people that have to view your permit before you actually receive it. So a lot of times that's a lot of confusion why people do not receive their permits in a timely manner. Now, we do have a list. A lot of people come in and they have questions on what they need for a building permit. We do have the city has a list on the website, and I also have flyers here, and it's permits that are not required. And it's usually there's fence repairs and there's window repairs and all sorts of items that you can do without a permit in the city. And so we have that information. I have all the information of the building official and my cards and our inspectors with us. I also have a card over here that'll give you a step-by-step process on how to view your permit online. So you get on the city website, you file that, and you can find out where your permit is in the process, and also if it's been disapproved, the comments of what the building department's looking for, or zoning, or any other of the departments that are requiring additional documents. Okay, more than that, you can always call us. Our phone numbers are on there. We'll try to answer all your questions as soon as possible. Emails, electric communication is great because then as you, the customer, have a document that A, I put in this question at this time, and B, here are my questions, and then C, here's our response and our answers. So emails are a great communication tool, but you can also, call on the phone. A lot of times we have owner builders. Is a big issue. People want to do work on their property. They're more than welcome. You don't need to have a contractor unless, of course, it's commercial or it's a rental, or then you absolutely need a contractor. And a lot of times owner builders need a guide in hand and stuff, and they're more than welcome to come in and speak with us and sit down, and we'll help them through the permitting process, as well as our inspectors in the field when they do on-site inspections to help them construct and, keep the buildings to code. And with building codes, and I know there's a lot of them, believe me, I've got 10 books, and I have to frequently look into them, as I'm sure fire and sheriff and everybody else. So they're there to keep, we want public safety, and the main focus on that is, eventually, and it's funny because I use this a lot on the phone, eventually in some point in time, unless of course natural disaster or something else, that building is not going to belong to you anymore, and it's our job to make sure that the next occupants or next owners, being families, children, businesses, are safe. Okay? And that's about all I have to say. We have the cards up here. We look forward to working with the community.
Can you elaborate on the 30-year inspection?
Oh, for Lakewood Beach, I think we only have a small buildings that are any building over 3 stories high needs a certification from the state, required by the state, to check the engineer and the structural liability of the building for the tenants, because we all know what happened a couple years ago down in Sunny Isle, Florida. I believe it was Sunny Isles, right? And so the state took a very aggressive approach to put a program for a 30-year recertification of condos or buildings, basically residential buildings over 3 stories and above. So, And I believe most of the buildings in the city of Lake Worth Beach have complied at this point. Okay. Thank you, Yolanda.
All right. Thank you, Charlie. I will add that all the information from Department of Community Sustainability, everything we've presented today is on the website. The director has ensured that all this information is on the website. We have numerous pamphlets and handouts, and it's to educate the community. So you'll be more educated in how the process works and the different divisions involved in a process, because sometimes the time frame entails several divisions involved and entities involved in these processes. So thank you, Charlie, again. And now we're going to keep moving on to City of Lake Worth Beach Public Works Department. Christine Engel.
Good morning. As Yolanda said, I'm Christine Engel. I work with the Public Works Department, specifically the Solid Waste and Recycling Division. So we are responsible for providing the waste removal service throughout the city to all the properties. We are the exclusive provider of the waste removal services, with minor exception to that, which I'll get to. We kind of divide our service into two categories: residential and commercial. Residential is considered anything with any property with 8 units or less. Commercial is considered anything with 9 units or more, or anything that's deemed commercial, like a retail establishment, a warehouse, a grocery store, office building, anything like that. Residential service is charged on the property taxes, and it's charged per unit. So if you have 5 units, you'll see an assessment on a non-ad valorem assessment on the property taxes for our current rate times 5 units, and that would be on there. There is also another charge on the tax roll, which people kind of sometimes confuse. It's for the Solid Waste Authority. They're the entity where we take all of our waste to. They're the ones responsible for the disposal and the managing the disposal facilities and that such throughout the county. So that's independent of us. Commercial, for the 9 units or more, that's billed on the utility bill. So we have a line item on there for that. And then we also have, and that's for the service fee, but we also have a mandatory waste services monthly fee that we add to the commercial accounts for $39.80. That's irregardless of whether you have our service or not. So you could have no service from us, but you have that charge, or you could have our service and that charge. That charge covers things like truck replacement, repairs, the administration of the program, things of that nature. Our fees are approved annually in the budget assessment, process by the commission. This year there is no increase to the residential proposed, but there is rates increases to the commercial proposed. So for us, it's important that you know your service zone. That is how your service is provided. The schedule is based on the zone. So just generally speaking, the zone 1 is the southeast or southwest corner, which is like Lake Osborne area. Zone 2 is north of Lucerne, which is like Vernon Heights and all that area. Zone 3 is east of Dixie, north of Lucerne, and that would be College Park area. And then the Zone 4 is the southeast area, which could include like Wingfield and things like that. So it's important to know your zone because, like I said, your schedule is based on that. I brought books that have your the schedules in it for all the areas. It's all on our website as well. So for residential, we provide one 96-gallon black garbage can per unit. So if you have a single family home, you get 1 garbage can. If you have 5, you can have up to 5. Some places choose not to have that many, but that's what you're allowed. We provide service twice a week. For commercial, there's a fee per cart. So, and that's based on the schedule of fees that we have. And it's a 2 times a week minimum. The exception to that is downtown, where we have a 3-day-a-week minimum. Dumpster service we provide anywhere from 2 to 7 days a week. You are required to have an enclosure for your dumpster. You're required to have an enclosure for your dumpster. The enclosure has to be open, and it has to be accessible for service. And we do not provide the opening of the dumpster enclosure. That is required by the property. So we also provide vegetation and bulk collection services. The vegetation for residential properties is we provide 1 96-gallon green cart for that service, and that's 1 per parcel, not 1 per unit. And we also allow up to 4 cubic yards on the ground. And then that's collected, basically it's 3 times a month. The residential bulk, which is furniture and appliances, that we pick up once a month on the 3rd day of the month. So if your schedule's for Monday, it's the 3rd Monday of the month, 3rd Tuesday, 3rd Thursday, or 3rd Friday. And that we pick up to 4 cubic yards. We do not pick up any construction material as part of that. So if you have pallets or any kind of wood or concrete or anything of that nature, there are additional fees for that. That's not part of our service. And if you exceed the 4 cubic yards, either on the residential on the vegetation or bulk collection, we will charge you an overage fee for that. Commercial properties do not get that service. So if you need it, you have to request it as a special collection, and fees do apply. We do offer a recycling program where we have the 2-sort system, where we have a blue bin for things like bottles and cans and plastic containers. The yellow bin is for cardboard and paper items. We provide that weekly. Residential properties get the bins. If you have 4 units or more, we do allow you to get the carts. And the larger carts are also available for commercial properties, with some exceptions to that. We also provide a cardboard dumpster. We now offer that service, where you can have a clearly marked container for the collection of cardboard. And it is not required to be in an enclosure. That's an exception to the enclosure rule. And it's, but there are fees applying to that. So we do issue violations for noncompliance with our collection guidelines. We have supervisors that are out in the field that they do give these noncompliance violations. So some of the ones we give out are for vegetation or bulk piles that are out too early or too late. That drives everybody crazy. We get lots of calls about those. You're allowed to put them out the night before your scheduled collection day, and not earlier. Piles that exceed the allowed amount. So if you're allowed to put out 4 cubic yards, if we come by and it has 6 cubic yards, we're going to charge you for the 2 cubic yards that are over. That's assuming it's out on your collection day. If you have items that you're not allowed to put at the curb, there's going to be a charge for that. Like I was mentioning, construction materials is something like that. If you hear that there's a hurricane watch or warning issued and stuff is put out at the curb, if we come by to get it, there is a $300 charge just for us to come by. And then we would charge the cost of removal on top of that. That is not we're not encouraging anybody to put it out, but if it so happens that we drive by and we see it out, we're going to get it. If carts are out on the wrong day or if they're improperly stored, we can give a ticket for that. In our city, you're required to use waste management for a roll-off container. So if you're doing any construction on your property, you need to make sure that you use waste management. If you use anybody else, that is a violation, and there is a fine that goes along with that, a daily fine for that. Overfill dumpster. This is going to be a new one that we have for the upcoming fiscal year. We're going to start charging for people who fill the dumpster way above the rim. It's dangerous for our trucks to pick up. It's unsightly. It's a mess, and clearly you're not getting enough. You don't have enough capacity for the service that you need. So either you need to increase the size of your dumpster or increase the days of service. But we are going to start charging for that. We will pick it up, but you're going to get a bill that says X amount of dollars was charged to your account. Prohibited items in the dumpster. We have places that put wood, concrete, things of that nature into the dumpsters. That is not acceptable items. It's dangerous to our drivers. It's dangerous to the equipment. It can cause a lot of damage. And when one of our trucks goes down, you're going to know it because you're going to be calling, wanting to know why they're not getting the service. So we want to avoid that. We've had situations where we'll pick up the dumpster, material falls out onto the truck, smashes the windshield, things like that. And when that happens going forward, assuming, of course, the commission approves it for this year, we will be charging the cost of repair to the property that did that. The way we issue our violations is by, so if you have a one-unit property and it's your rental, it's fine. But if you have a one-unit property and they have a violation, we will violate that particular person on their utility bill. If it's 2 units or more, we don't know whether it came from Unit A or Unit B. So we're sending that bill to the property owner, and it becomes that person's responsibility to pay it. And then proposed for FY26, the commission is looking at doing escalating violations, which would be new for us, where if it's first violation, it would be $100 plus the cost of removal. Second violation, $300 plus the cost of removal. And the third violation and subsequent violations would be $500 plus the cost of removal. So it's expensive. So the key is you got to make sure your tenants know what they're supposed to do. So for owner responsibilities, for residential properties that you have, make sure that they have the right bins for the service that they're allowed to have from us. Make sure they understand what they are supposed to use those containers for. Make sure that if it's the black one, they know that they're supposed to put the garbage in it. If it's the green one, they're supposed to put the vegetation in it. If they mix them up, it becomes a problem because we don't service the opposite color container on those collection days. So it could become a problem. And they need to make sure that they're only putting the correct items in there, like in your recycle bins. We don't want a bunch of contamination in there. We don't want materials bagged into the recycle bins. If a cart goes missing, there is a $55 replacement fee, and that we usually, since the cart is assigned to the house and it stays with the house when somebody moves, that is the property owner's responsibility to pay for the replacement cost of that cart. Make sure your tenants have the house number on your carts so that if it does accidentally get grabbed by a neighbor or gets just shifted down the street a little bit, that you can find it and get it back so you're not paying the $55. And then for commercial owners, you need to make sure that you have, for your dumpsters, that the dumpster enclosure is open before service, closed after service, is clean, accessible. If there's debris around it, we can't service it. If there's a car parked nearby, but you don't think it's blocking it, but if our truck can't maneuver and we can't service it, then we have to come back. We can't service it when it's there. So what you need to do is know what kind of restrictions you have for the service at your property so that you can plan for it. Maybe put a no parking sign in a particular spot or things like that. One of the things that I think is really helpful is if it's a larger commercial property, say like a warehouse or something, and you own, the whole property, but you have individual tenants in there that right now, some of them may be responsible for providing their own service, like setting it up through the city independently. That gets very complicated for everybody. My recommendation is that the property owner takes responsibility for the garbage service and figures out how to factor that into their rent. Because it's much easier for there to be a point of contact that knows what's going on with all the service at a particular property than to have 3 or 4 different dumpsters. Turns out somebody's sharing this dumpster, sharing that dumpster. Well, I don't want them sharing my dumpster, but they're not being paid. We can only bill in a certain way, and we can't split the cost. We can't do certain things. And when they move out, if they forget to cancel service, that charge continues because we don't know that they're no longer there. So that charge continues, and it falls back to the property owner. For tenants, need to be aware of what the rules are, take some responsibility for understanding what those rules are, understand your collection schedule. Any questions, research it before you put stuff at the curb. Bring carts back promptly after service to keep the community looking nice. Secure your carts and bins on your property so it might be harder for someone to maybe take a container. Place items for service out 5 feet away from any object so that we can grab it with the equipment. And please only put it in front of your house. Don't put it in front of your neighbor's house. Don't put it at the property line, because when it's the property line, then there's this whole big issue of whose it is, and it gets complicated, and it gets people frustrated. This is our contact information. We have it in the booklets up here. Like I said, we have a residential booklet. We also have a commercial booklet. Both are in Spanish and Creole as well. They're all on our website, available there. And we also have an app called Recycle Coach that will you can download to your phone, and it will you can set up to receive alerts. So you get reminders as to what the collection days are the night before. It's also how if there's some kind of emergency situation, like our truck broke down and we're not going to be able to provide service that day, there's information about that and instructions as to what's going to happen next. We'd also use it in the event of a hurricane, where we could provide information through there as well. We put the bulk day on Facebook every month, and we also put the bulk schedule on the City Hall sign. So we try to promote it as much as we can. So, but as long as you know your schedule and you know the rules, you're fine. But it's when people move in and they come and go, and there's a lot of transient situations, and people aren't informed of the rules, that's when things kind of go awry. So we want to avoid that, provide whatever information you need. We can help however you need. Just give us a call. And I think that's that. Yeah.
The building department has pre-approved. The building department has pre-approved plans for dumpster enclosures. Just contact my office. I will email the plan for you, as well as storage sheds. If anybody wants a storage shed, that has the pre-approved plans for those as well.
Thank you both. Do we have a presenter from the Homeless Coalition? No? Okay. Do we have a presenter from Legal Aid Society? Palm Beach County Clerk of Courts? Gina Ward? Now, my friend, we're going to call up Mr. John Faust, Property Management. He's going to talk to us about managing properties.
Good afternoon, or still morning still. Hi, I'm John Faust. Live here, work here. My family owns a real estate office downtown for 36 years, and we also have a second real estate office, property management company right over the bridge. I could speak on landlord tenant for probably a couple hours, teach some classes. I want to probably speak mostly on landlord things right now. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving legal advice. If you manage properties, if you're an agent, it's like get your rental license. I promise you, it's just tell your landlords it's the cost of doing business in the city. There is no way around this. And when you get caught, it's just everyone looks bad, and you're putting so many things at risk. Kind of take this slightly out of order. Code compliance, the code compliance officers. If something's going on, you're not sure what's going on, you get a pink notice on your door. Call the code compliance officers. They will meet you at the property. They will walk around the entire building, and they will tell you, item by item what's in violation and how to correct it. It's like these guys couldn't go out of their way more to make things go smooth. So that's an easy fix. Trust them. Let's see. Applications for tenants. It's like make sure you have an application for your tenants. This application should just be, who are you, where do you live and work, where did you used to live and work. You can ask some things like, when I do a background screening, am I going to find anything as far as what am I going to find is for screening. So basic screening is usually criminal and eviction history and a credit score. Most landlords actually, believe it or not, don't care about credit scores. There's a few that do. Most of them care that you have the ability to pay, so they're just looking at your income. And of course, eviction history and criminal history. Put on your application if you're a tenant, because that's grounds for automatic refusal or denial of housing if it comes back on your screening and it wasn't on your application. The lease paperwork. This one's easy. It's like get a local realtor. There are only 2 fill-in-the-blank forms legal in the state of Florida. They're both from the Board of Realtors, the Florida Bar Association, and the Florida Supreme Court. All your local realtors have a copy of that, or get your lawyer to make one. Most of the time, they might charge you $150 for the first one and $50 for each additional one. Sounds silly. A lot of people make their own. Don't do this. There's so many tiny components that need to be in a lease, and just technicality. It's like if you forget one item, you don't have a valid lease, and then one party can walk away, and there you are standing without grounds to make a claim on a deposit or collect rent or recover monies for damages. Landlords, if something goes wrong with your tenants and you're paying for the utilities, do not turn off the power. This is a serious housing violation. It's like, I won't go deep into that, but just don't do it. If something's broken, you have to fix it. If you rent a property and it has 4 appliances in the kitchen, the range, refrigerator, microwave, dishwasher, it's got a washer and dryer, and the power's off, and you don't know if it works, it's like it doesn't matter. It's there. It needs to work when the tenant turns the power on. Just do it. And be diligent on fixing things. If you rented something with AC, you have to supply AC. If it takes a day or extra hours to get the AC guy there to fix it, it does, but just be diligent on fixing it.
Technically, if you don't have an AC in Florida, you're not required to supply AC. You're required to supply heat. So those 3 days a year when your tenants need heat, you might have to go out and buy a space heater. Let's see. Chapter 83 of the Florida statutes, Part 2, is 100% of the landlord-tenant law in Florida. There's 3 parts to that. Part 1 and 3 are for non-residential spaces and for storage spaces. Part 2, Chapter 83, Google it. It's the Florida statute is actually pretty cool. It's not exciting reading, but it's about 12 or 13 pages long. It's not actually that big. In the statutes, it tells you exactly what you need to do as a landlord and a tenant. It gives it actually gives you samples of the letters to write when something goes sideways. A lot of landlords want to make up their own notices. It's like there's only so many. There's 24-hour notice for entering the property. There's a 3-day notice for when you're late on your rent. There's 2 different 7-day notices. 7 days to cure something or 7 days to not cure it and get off the property. There's no longer a 15-day notice for month-to-month tenants. Now you give them 30 days. This is a big one. This is 30 days before rent is due. So if you're selling the property, you want to get a new tenant, tenant pays rent on the first day of the month. If you give them a 30-day notice on the 3rd of the month, say be out at the end of the month, you really just gave them a 58-day notice. So watch your dates. Tenants have rights, and that could put you in trouble. And when you get in front of a judge, even though a lot of the landlord-tenant laws are based to make life easier for the landlords, they're really, really, really protecting the public. They're really protecting the tenants. Damages here on landlord-tenant items seem to be treble damages, which is triple damages. So if you do something improper with rent or a security deposit, you could be paying your tenant back 3 times security deposit. So it's like, just pay attention to dates. Remember, future rents, last month's rent, security deposit does not belong to you, the landlord. It belongs to the tenant. You're holding somebody else's money. If it's not in your checking account, you need to post a bond that says, I don't have that. So there's, in that also, again, in Chapter 83 of the statute, it tells you exactly how, who, when, where, everything. So there, move-outs, you landlords, you have 15 days to return a security deposit or 30 days to make a claim on it. You either return it or make a claim on it to the last known address. This is the one thing that's a responsibility of the tenant. When they move out, if they don't give you a new address, not your problem. You send it to their old address. So it's called last known address, but you do have to do that return it in full 15 days or make a claim on it within 30 days. Let's see. There's some other exciting ones to review, but I'm not. Remedies for breaking a lease early, holdover rents, or double rents, by the way. Somebody said they're going to be out the end of this month, and they're out the first day of next month. Technically, landlord can charge them 2 months' rent for not turning in the keys before midnight. So watch the dates. Pets versus animals. I'm not going to get into that, but that's a big one. That's probably enough for me. Rent rates. I'm not going to discuss rent rates because I don't want to be accused of price setting. Right now, as of this morning, Palm Beach County says that our median rent rate is $2,900 a month. I will tell you, Lake Worth is no longer the cheapest rents in Palm Beach County. We're on the high end of rents in Palm Beach County. So maybe talk to a local agent. They can do a search with what's going on as far as rental activities in the past to tell you what things have been rented for. I think that's it. Thanks. Let's go to lunch.
Thank you, Mr. Faust. I called him at the last minute, and he came. Fire will be presenting, Palm Beach County Fire Rescue will be presenting at the October training. To expedite time, I just want to mention hat racking was one of the things I wanted planning and zoning team to talk about. If you decide, a property owner decide to cut a tree, or trim a tree, or whatever you're trying to do with that tree, please contact planning and zoning, the landscape employee, landscape person, and allow them to guide you as to how to handle the tree, because we have a lot of hat racking cases going before the special magistrate, and it is not better to beg for forgiveness. It's not here in Lake Worth. It's not cheaper to beg for forgiveness. You should really be trying to get the information necessary prior to doing the work. So please contact the planning and zoning team prior to cutting any trees or trimming any trees. Evictions, back to Mr. Faust. If there's an eviction, property owner is evicting, a lot of times the tenant put all their bulk trash out in front of the property, either on the private property or on the public right-of-way. Property owners need to understand they are responsible for that bulk trash. So they will be, no doubt, will receive the information in code compliance, and we will be addressing it. So just make sure if you evict your tenant, you go by the property and see what's going on with your property and make sure it's in compliance, because we will receive a complaint regarding the property. Again, there are no anonymous complaints. SB 60, we cannot accept anonymous complaints. So if you complain, your information, name, and address will be public record. We have to have that. If anyone would like to see additional information or additional presenters on the October 16th at that training, please email me directly and let me know your thoughts, and we'll try to provide those presenters as well. We're going to have some closing comments by the Assistant City Manager, Mr. Troy Perry.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bryant. Again, thank you for coming out and participating in the event. And like Ms. Bryant said before, if you have any concerns, questions, or there's a topic or issue that we did not cover, please let us know, and we'll try to address it at our October 16th meeting. I think what we heard today was very informative, and I definitely want to thank those outside organizations that took the time to come out and provide that information. We're just trying to improve our partnership with the community. We get the complaints a lot of times that citizens just don't have the information. So we're going to do everything we can to try to get the information out to the public, so we can make this a lasting relationship. But before we go, are there any questions that I can answer, or is there anything that any concerns that you may have? You're a quiet bunch. Yeah. Okay. Again, thanks a lot, and hopefully we'll see you October 16th. And again, please send in your questions or concerns or anything that you think we can do to improve, and we'll take it into consideration. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm.